I'm going to bounce off of you, Ryan, and inject a little bit of fun into this because, and I know that I'm going to assume that most people listening to this won't agree with me, and that's perfectly fine.
I think I know where you're going with this, JD, and I'll just say this. If it's what I think you're going to say, I agree with you.
Okay, we'll see.
Don't do
I
it.
think, and again, let me finish before we get all crazy here. I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is light years better than the first film.
I agree.
I think it is.
I agree.
Light years better.
Both
Now,
are not good. Both are not good.
Both are not good. let's put that out there.
What the hell is going on?
One of them at least has personality.
Yes,
it's not a good personality, but I would take at least something that's trying to be bonkers like Spider-Man 2 is here than the absolute nothingness that is The Amazing Spider-Man.
And that's it for me, because outside of the chemistry of the two leads, that first Amazing Spider-Man is utterly forgettable. It is the definition of mundane. Nothing happens. It's very boring. Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, yes, very messy for all the reasons Ryan is talking about. But it at least has individual elements that I think are genuinely very good, including, again, the chemistry of Emma Stone and Andrew
Garfield.
I almost called him my son's name. That's getting all confusing. And Andrew Garfield, because my newborn son, his name is Andrew Parker Duran, and yes, and some of it has to do with this movie. Because my wife is in love with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and again, going back to what I said earlier,
Randy loves this movie.
Yeah, Brandy loves this film. She absolutely loves Amazing Spider-Man 2. And again, it comes back to the rom-com of it all. And I think as a rom-com, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is electric. Maybe pun intended. It is very, very good. Very good. I absolutely adore the film.
Pun.
Fair. Look, I'll go willingly. I'm going willingly.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He knew how bad that pun was.
You knew it.
Like, I'll accept it. Yes,
and
for
you
sure.
let it loose.
Yeah, but
just like this movie, it knows how bad its personality is and chooses to embrace it.
100%. Yeah. And it is so good. It is really great. Jamie Foxx, I love that he's going for it. You know, whether it works or not, maybe it doesn't, but I like that he's going for it. At least, again, to me, it's at least not forgettable like the first film was.
I like
think
Paul Giamatti in this one. He's in it for 5
exactly.
I don't mind him in this. He's at least trying to do something.
Look, it's not great, but at least he's trying. I think Hans Zimmer's score is genuinely great. I love that theme.
Hans Zimmer's on vacation. Somebody else did it, and they slapped his name.
Well, whoever did it, I do think it's Hans Zimmer, because maybe not that initial theme that opens the film. There is something classic and Spider-Man-y about it that meshes together, which makes me think that maybe he was a part of it. But more than that, it's the Electro theme, which is like 10 minutes long. And it's very Hans Zimmer-y. Like there's no other way to describe it. That is 100% his thumbprint on that score. And I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and even a little bit different for Hans Zimmer at that time. So like I and then, you know, there was another, I wanted to talk about the scene that Peter has with Aunt May. So like, again, looking at this in a microcosm, because, you know, earlier we talked about how they try to inject elements of Peter's backstory with his parents into these movies.
Oh my God.
Not successful, but at least they're trying something. However, I bring that up to say there's a moment in this film where Peter is trying to figure out more about his father and his mom and what happened. And Aunt May catches him in this process. And this has, you know, been going on for a little bit, because it's like halfway through the movie at this point.
Yeah.
And she, you know, it has this cathartic moment where she's like, I raised you. I'm the one that, you know, had to sacrifice and all of this sort of stuff. And this is why you hire someone like Andrew Garfield to be in this role, because the way he responds to that, like, that is a genuinely heartwarming moment that is genuinely poignant. It's very effective. in the context of that film. There are very few scenes where you can say that, but that is one that I think is great. So like in a microcosm, there are things about that film that I think are actually very good, that are actually memorable. I have not seen that film probably since 2014 or whenever it came out, but that's a scene that is potent, that still lingers in my memory. Same thing with the score, same thing with some of these other components that we're talking about. So yes, as a movie, it's very messy, very disjointed, overstuffed, not great. But there are parts of it that I think are actually very good. And when compared to that first film, which is so blah and just what's the worst thing you can say about a movie? Not even that it's bad. It's you don't remember anything
lifeless.
about it.
It's personality.
Lifeless,
well, and
soulless.
I think that's the worst thing for movies like this, like superhero movies that are meant to be kind of vibrant and colorful, at least within the realm of Spider-Man. So, yes, Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's like I don't want to sit here and defend this movie. This is like a 2 out of 5 star movie on Letterboxd for me at best.
It is worse than that.
Oh, it's not good. It's not good. But I'll take a failed attempt at some personality over a movie that has none of it, which is why I do prefer. Now, most of it doesn't work. There are things about it that I think do work. Like, I actually think the opening chase through the streets with the Rhino, and just like the way that Andrew Garfield communicates with Emma Stone on the phone while he's kind of stuck to the front of the 18-wheeler there. I think it's kind of charming. I think it's funny.
I agree.
But again, most of the movie doesn't really. I actually think the ending and the whole Gwen Stacy thing, as devastating as it is on paper, I don't know if it quite earns what it's going for.
I would say that it does. Again, primarily because of the performances and their chemistry.
The movie does none of the heavy lifting itself. Yeah,
and I agree with that. It really comes down to those performances and their chemistry, and again, how electric they are together. It is effective. So by the time we get to that moment at the end, not because of the movie, but because of the performers, I do think that emotion is felt. And same thing with Gwen Stacy's speech at the end, which I think is also very good. If I was going to give Webb any credit, it's maybe some of the editing there I think is very good. But yeah, it's not because of the movie.